Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of John Leonetti's Annabelle in 2014. So, this is a film I watched today, and I just thought I wanted to see it. Been meaning to see it for well some time, but of course, famously very unsuccessful critically, very successful in terms of box office, which is usually the case with a lot of horror films. But yes, it's a prequel to, of course, the Conjuring films. Although, of course, Conjuring 2 came out after this, it's still a prequel to that kind of universe with the Warrens. The doll, of course, that's involved in them films. Plays a role in them films. And yes, something I was kind of interested in seeing. But with a lot of, as with a lot of spin-offs and stuff, I didn't expect too much. And of course, when I saw the actual ratings, and it's only till now actually that I properly, realised. How panned this film is. Very, very unsuccessful critically, and IMDb 5 point something, 5.4 I think it was. So it's not a popular film, and I've heard better things about the new Annabelle film, that came out last year. I do not know anything about that, in terms of story, so I don't know how that fits in. Therefore, I don't really know exactly how this fits into the kind of timeline. If that one goes further back, I'm really not sure. But I'm judging this film, on its own and stuff. But yes, it's not acclaimed, and I didn't expect too much. But yes, on paper, it's something that I kind of, I didn't need it, but it'd be interesting to see, the origins of this kind of doll stuff. But yes, not acclaimed, and really, this is actually worse than I thought it could be, as is the case a lot of the time. I think this is an absolutely atrocious film. I saw the Evil Dead 2013 version a couple of days ago. I thought it was absolutely disgraceful, and it's another example of a lot of modern horror that I just hate. I think it's just terrible, and this one is actually worse than that film, and I gave the film a 21%. I think this is an absolutely atrocious film. It's disgraceful, laughable, but once it kicks in, very, very boring. Time just goes so slowly because it's just so bad, and so it lacks any sense of energy, momentum, and it just yes, this is pointless if they were going to do it in this way. It's just stupid because it's not really an origins story. It's just another. It's like a kind of melodrama in the worst way, and the doll appears now and then. It's just really disgraceful, really the opening bits are the only things in terms of story that actually matters to the rest of the Conjuring films, you could say. This is just another stock family that's put into this film and story, just to let it be told, and just an absolutely atrocious film, on all accounts. James Wan produced. I wish he directed it. Maybe then it would have been a lot better. But yes, this is just disgraceful. The film opens up with something that, yes, it's kind of, it's pretty basic and stuff, but, the rest of the film is a lot worse. At least that kind of, it says something about what's going on with this doll, and it kind of adds something, if you will. The rest of the film, though, what I found with it is just absolutely atrocious characters. Just terrible. The writing throughout this film is disgraceful. All the dialogue. Just the characters in this film are just dreadful. Lifeless characters. There's no drama in this film as well, really, until the final act. But even then, very, very minimal. And the horror in this film is lazy. In every single sense. The actual cinematography is dreadful. There's no real tension really built up through the camera work and the sound design too much. And just the actual the lighting and everything is not that strong. And it's just for the most part of the film, the first 2/3 especially, it's just a family melodrama, really, really bad one, because there is melodramas that are great. Of course, really, really bad one, like something you'd see on the horror channel, sci-fi channel, with the doll kind of getting shown close up now and then to kind of add tension. I don't really see the point. You know, it doesn't explore, you know, this kind of thing in any meaningful way. It's just a family, another generic family that happens to, you know, it's just not done in a good way. You know, it could have been done so much better. The actual doll, the way that's used is pretty lazy. Just to kind of show up now and then, you know, it's not. This is not what the film should have been. Just lazy in the worst ways. The characters, you know, you've got Annabelle, Wallis, who plays Mia. She's the main kind of character, and of course her husband John, who is basically, you know, this film is like an advert, you know, and this character of John, in particular, is just like the perfect definition of an absolutely flawless human, you know, who goes to work, he does everything great, he's a good guy, you know, he says hi to everyone, he waves, smiles, and, you know, it just made me feel sick. This is the most laziest character I have seen, maybe in a horror film. He is atrocious, and, you know, it's just the fact that he agrees with everything. There's no, and that's, you know, doesn't make for a compelling character at all. The performance, you know, is terrible, and just, there's no, you know, it just doesn't, there's never a point really until the last act where everything, you know, people are nearly getting killed and stuff, that he actually does anything, you know, in that sense. He just keeps kind of brushing it off. Of course that can be done in good ways, but not here. Very, very lazy on the nose, and just the relationship between him and you know, Mia, it's one of the most basic, underdeveloped relationships, you know, I've ever seen, and the fact that, you know, it's just so, it just agrees with everything kind of, and it's just so cringy though when the things do kick in, the actual romance. One of the worst romances I've ever seen, and just, it's just so boring, this film. The characters are so bad, you know, and it just, there's no momentum, you know. The horror elements, of course, I can be patient, you know, I love horrors where they gradually build, and, you know, they don't need to reveal in that sense till the final act, you know, and some films never fully reveal, which is, you know, and it can be great, but in this film, you know, because the drama is so bad, it's so poorly developed, the characters are awful, you know. There would have needed to be, you know, some horror elements to save it, you know, some compelling stuff there, you know, some creepy atmosphere, maybe some good visuals in that sense, and just something that kind of gets under your skin. Unfortunately not, you know, especially the first half, it's just the doll shows up now and then. You got some cheap jump scares which, you know, aren't involving seeing anything really. You know, people walking by, you know, behind and stuff, kind of, so they're slightly in the frame and stuff, but that wasn't even done well, you know, it just didn't add anything like that. So the drama is awful and the horror is awful, so, you know, it's just a terrible film, and it really works on no levels whatsoever for me. But the fact that the characters are so generic, it's just literally like an advert. This film, it's disgraceful, you know, and I didn't really get a great feel with the actual, you know, recreation of the time and everything. You know, it wasn't even done too well. You know, the costumes and everything. You know, just the actual colour tone. It wasn't what I expected. So, you know, this film is just dreadful. Some of the lines of dialogue, you know, it's something like a little too stressed, and then the guy goes, "But you're a lot pregnant." That is the sort of lines that are in this film. Just atrocious, you know, laughable. You know, this character of John is just one of the weakest characters I've ever seen in anything, you know, ever. It's so bad, this character of John in particular. Mia is awful, but she's better than him by far. Some of the side characters as well, you know, the priest and everyone, they're pretty bad. And just very, very cheap how that turns out there with him. And, you know, just, yes, the side characters that as well, there's other side characters, you know, the woman that tries to help her, just crap as well, you know, and it's just so boring, just lifeless horror film that really is actually one of the worst horror films I've ever seen in my life. There's not much horror films actually I can think of that. There's only maybe a few that are as bad as this that I've ever seen, to be honest. You know, pure horrors. It's just, as I say, it just doesn't work. The direction is awful. Cinematography, the editing is just disgraceful. But these characters are just some of the worst I've ever seen in cinema. There's no drama. You know, it's just the writing is terrible. There's no drama. It's just the most generic lines you ever hear, most of the time. Just awful, awful horror film, awful drama, disgraceful film overall. Really, really disgraceful, and it just bored me to tears. Very, very boring film. Nothing compelling, for me. And as well, just the way they explored this kind of this story of this doll. It was not done in a meaningful way. It could have been done so much better. Just the way that she kind of just is there throughout the film. Yes, there's something that happens in the final act, that's different, but to what she does in the rest of the film. Even then, that's pretty disappointing, and just the character's motivations, just all awful. It's just like stick this doll in like a sci-fi channel film, horror channel film, and that's what you've got. That's what you've got the film, but and that's not what you expect. The Conjuring 1 and 2, of course 2 came out after this, but them films are absolutely stunning. Conjuring 1, when I saw it, I was absolutely blown away. Great film. Conjuring 2 for me is even better. I think it's absolutely stunning. And this is just it's an awful film. I'd have to give this film, it goes below 20%. It was already, it was in the ones throughout the entire film, really. The kind of that area. I'd have to give this film a 16%. Awful film. Worse than the Evil Dead 2013 that I saw a couple of days ago. Not had a great week because I watched, Natural Born Killers as well, which I hated. But yes, this is the worst film out of all of them, and it's just atrocious. I just don't see what they were thinking. How could it be this bad? Is it a joke? Not a funny joke for me. These films, Conjuring 2 are absolutely stunning. It's just a shame that the backstory that you got, the prequel of this doll, is so disappointing and so half-assed that it's just disgraceful. Cheap as well, all the cheap tropes that comes with modern horrors, just rolled into one. This is the shitstorm. I absolutely detest it. It's one of my least favourite films I've seen in the last couple of years. It's just disgraceful. I'd rather watch Police Academy 5, Diamonds Are Forever than this. It's just disgraceful. Wouldn't recommend it. It's if you're interested in seeing the backstory, like I kind of was in some ways, you'll probably be disappointed with this. It's as bad as the critics say. Well, worse for me. It's just disgraceful on every level. But yes, thanks for watching my review of Annabelle.